we're just gonna jump right into it. This is going to be all about the sales pipeline. If you have any questions, just feel free to unmute yourself and shout them out. So first off, the sales pipeline is opportunities. So on the left-hand side, we're going to go to our opportunities applet, just the handshake. And what I really, want everybody to take away is that these sales pipelines are like a virtual whiteboard, right? So this is how you know what upcoming business you may have in the pipeline, okay? This is your opportunity to ensure that none of these potential sales fall through the crack, right? This is your way to keep track of all that potential business that you might have, okay? So each pipeline has 5 phases: cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, and closed. And then we do separate out the pipelines between listings, buyers, and then we also have a leases one. Be careful when you're creating an opportunity. If you create it as a listing opportunity, know that you won't be able to change it to a buyer opportunity. You would have to archive the listing opportunity and then recreate one where you need it. So you just can't switch between the 2 pipelines. Okay. So the cultivate stage, what that really is meant for is the people who maybe you were doing your lead gen, right? You're doing your quarterly calls, you're sending out your emails, you're doing all your touches. And when you do talk to them, they say, we've been thinking about, right? We've been thinking about selling our house, in the next like 2 years, or yeah, we were maybe thinking about buying a property on the lake, or whatever that sentence is. When they say that keyword to you, yeah, we've been thinking about, that becomes an opportunity for you. And that's where I want you to really think about this sales pipeline. It starts from that moment. So the cultivate stage is all those people that have said to you, yeah, we're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z, but they haven't really moved any further from there, okay? So you put them in as an opportunity in the cultivate stage, and then you really get the chance to have a system of how you're going to communicate and what you're going to do to reach out to those potential clients so that you can get an appointment, so that you can get the listing or get the buyer from it. Does that make sense? So we're using that cultivate stage to just say, how many people have, at least talked to me about real estate in some capacity of they're thinking about their own move, and what can I do to ensure that I'm going to be the realtor of choice when that time comes? That's what cultivate means. And then, of course, after you cultivate and they do say, yeah, we're ready to start our search, we're ready to move forward with selling our house, then we go on an appointment, we get our signed contract, we move to active. And then once we find the house, or, we get an accepted offer, then we're under contract and closed. Okay. So for right now, I'm just going to click on the cultivate stage. So if you've never been in here before, or if you haven't edited your stages, when you come in, they probably look something similar to like watch, nurture, and hot, I think are the 3 categories that you'll see. My brain doesn't work like that. Okay, I don't really know what nurture means. I don't know what watch means. I don't really know what those terms mean. My brain, though, does think in timelines, right? So if somebody says to me, you know what, in May, when the kids graduate from high school, we'll probably be more likely to sell the house then. Okay, so you're about 6 months out then. I can put a time frame on that. If you're, if you just say to me casually, yeah, we'll look at properties if anything comes our way, but we're not really motivated, well, then maybe they're more than a year, right? Like you can put timeframes on when people are thinking about making that move, okay? So if you want to change your watch, nurture, and hot, all you need to do is come up here and click on this button that says edit stages with a little pencil next to it. And from there, you can go ahead and change that stage name. So I think your first one probably says watch. There's a little pencil next to it. You can click on the pencil and then change the name. So figure out what time frames maybe work best for you, or what terminology works best for you to understand who's in which bucket and what do I need to be watching for. Okay. The other thing that you can do is you can add more stages. So if you're like, I want 4 buckets in this phase, or I want 5 buckets in this phase, that's quite all right. There's a big blue button at the top that says add stage, and then you would just name that stage. Okay. It will also ask you to put in a probability. Okay. Now I'm just going to close this. You'll see here that each of these stages has a probability percentage. That's your probability that it's going to actually close, right? So if I have somebody that says, yeah, you know what, we're more than a year out, I'm obviously not going on appointment anytime soon. And so there's actually only a 5% chance I'm going to get them to the closing table. So my mindset really needs to be about, what do I have to do to get them to the closing table? What do I need to, change? What do I need to start talking to them about? What do I need to do with them to get them to the closing table? Okay. So think about exactly what you want these phases and stages to be, because that is how you're going to organize all your potential business. Okay. If you do end up adding a stage here to the cultivate stage, I say just don't make the probability more than 10%. So however you want to readjust these probabilities is fine. Just don't go more than 10%. And I'm going to show you some of the things that this probability can do for you in a second. Okay. The next thing we have on here in our edit cultivate stages is checklist items. Okay. So what do I need to do to make sure that they don't fall through the crack? What do I need to do to make sure they don't connect with some random agent at a different brokerage? What do I need to do to be in more communication and more specific communication with them to ensure that I get that appointment set in a year or in 3 months, right? So what you can do is you can build yourself master checklists for your potential business opportunities, okay? So I have a few items here on my less than 6 months. So things might be like, take them out to dinner, right? Like just go to dinner because you're friends and that's okay. Go, you just don't have to be, the 5-star steak dinner. Take them out to, Bel Air, get some tacos. I would love that, right? Send them a CMA, right? Maybe we need to start talking about the value of the house so that we can start to kind of plant that seed of, I'm the professional, I know how much your house is worth, I can help you sell it. Maybe you have kind of like a pre-list package that you've put together. You can send them something like that, Think about, what can you give them to make them start to feel more comfortable with using you as their agent. And then obviously you have to call to get the appointment, right? At some point in time, you're going to have to talk to them and say, hey, I would like to come over to your house to see what we can do to get it sold in the next couple of months, right? So those are some of the checklist items that I have here in my cultivate if they were less than 6 months out. But again, you're going to really need to sit down and think about how you want to build these checklists for your business. Okay. So that's the checklist here. If you want to add an item to your checklist, there's just this button here to add an item. You can reorder these by just dragging and dropping into whatever order makes sense for you. Okay. So what do I need to do if they're more than a year out? What do I need to do when they move into that, 6 months to 1 year bucket? And then what do I need to do if they're less than 6 months out from selling their house? Think about that. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay, great. So I'm just going to go back here. So we talked about that probability percentage in each stage. And as you come through here, appointment, active, under contract, all of your opportunities have a different percentage based on where they're at in the system. Okay. So for instance, under appointment, if I actually kept an appointment and go on an appointment, I have a 30% chance of getting them to the closing table. Once I go active, look at this. Once I get that signed listing contract, now I'm already at a 50% chance of going to the closing table before showings even start, right? And then when I go under contract, man, you're going to have a hard time with me not going to the closing table because I'm going to get you there, right? So your chances of going to the closing table significantly increase once you go under contract. Does this make sense? So what's doing is as you enter in these opportunities, it is calculating over here on the right-hand side what that potential income is versus what that probable income is. And this is what I want you to use to motivate you. So as you're accumulating opportunities because you're doing your phone calls and people are telling you, yeah, we've been thinking about making this move, you're going to drop them into Cultivate. And it's going to start tallying up for you what your potential income could be if every opportunity in this sales pipeline got to the closing table. And I really think that's a highly powerful motivator. Because right now, you know, if I have one listing under contract, one that just hasn't started showings yet, and one that I'm, you know, working on going on an appointment for, I might not get these two to the closing table. And so my probable income is a lot less than my full potential income if I were to close all three. So allow yourself, as you're dropping in these potential opportunities into your Cultivate of people that have said, yeah, we're thinking about making this move, allow that potential income to help motivate you, right? Because you all have goals. Let's use this to see how we can get towards those goals. Okay. So in the under contract phase, you'll see here, I have an opportunity here and we're in the inspection phase. And I have a couple of checklist items in the inspection phase. So something like schedule a home inspection. This probably should say something similar, something more along the lines of coordinate inspection with the buyer's agent. I just kind of have started randomly adding things in here. So change MLS status to under contract, right? You know, whatever you're going to do once you kind of get that accepted offer and you're moving into the inspection phase. Maybe you're using Focus transaction management. So send docs to Focus transaction management, right? Renee and her team, maybe you're using them. Maybe you just need to remember to order title. So order title and Focus, right? You can come in here and you can build this checklist out to really help you in that contract to close process, so that you're making sure that all those little steps that you need to take to make sure we get to the closing table successfully are taken care of. Okay. And then when you create these checklist items, it asks, do you want to make this checklist item part of a daily client update email that you can choose to send out to your clients? So it would say things like, you know, here, and I'll show you an example of it, you know, like, here's the next 3 items on our checklist. Here's what's due next. Okay. So maybe I do need to say that we're ordering title. Maybe I want to make sure that my clients know that that's part of what we're doing is ordering title from Focus. Okay. I can also then set a due date. Well, if I just got an accepted offer today, of course, I probably want to make sure that that gets done right away because we do have the dates and deadlines. So I'm just going to go ahead and make sure my due date is tomorrow. And you can update the time as well. So if you want it in the morning, you can change the time to whatever time you want it to be due. Okay. So now ordering title is due by tomorrow. What that's going to do is send me, the listing agent, a task, and I'll get a task notification in Command that says you have a task to complete, which is order title from Focus for this listing specifically. Does that make sense? Okay. So a little bit more about this client updates in the email and how you can kind of manage it in the background. If we go back to this edit stages, we have this little thing here that says client updates and a little gear. If you click on the gear, it comes into our settings. So we can also access this from our command settings, which is the drop down next to your name, and click on settings. Okay. What time do you want your clients to get a daily email that says, you know, here's where we're at in the process? Okay, so I chose 9:30 because I figured I'm not going to disturb anybody's sleep at that time. You want to send it from the owner. So I'm the listing agent. I own the opportunity in the command system. So it's going to come from me, the owner. I'm going to apologize real quick. I have a pop-up that's not going to let me move through. Okay. And then who do I want to send it to? So remember, when you create your opportunities, you have both the client, and if there's a second client, a co-client, so, you know, a husband and a wife, for example, do you want to send it to both of them, or do you want to send it to just that first primary client that you entered? Okay. And then do you, as the owner, also want to receive a copy of this email? Okay, so that when you receive a copy, you know it was sent to them, and then you can see exactly what it's sending them, right? Then at the bottom here, it says you're currently using the default template, and then click on preview. Now this preview, I'm just going to warn you, is from, you know, Boston Metro, but this is all going to pull from your marketing profile. So it's going to have your logos, your agent information here, your client's name. So it'd say, hey, Kathleen, we're checking things off the list. Here's a summary of tasks that have been completed. And so based upon that, I'm in the inspection stage. I had 2 items that I wanted to share with them. It would tell them, of those 2 items, are any of them checked off? Okay. And then again, more branding for you at the bottom of this email template. So for example, if I go back to that opportunity that we were in, and I click on the little checklist here, I asked for them to be updated about scheduling the home inspection and ordering title. So those would be the only 2 checklist items that would show on that email. And if I completed the home inspection, or it was scheduled, it would show that the home inspection has been completed, but then we're still due for this second item, which is ordering title. And you can also see this little email, that icon that pops up there means that they're going to get an email about this item. Okay, so it's just a little daily recap email that your clients can get about where you're at in the process. And you don't have to share your entire checklist with them. You know, there's a lot of things that we're just doing in the background that we need a checklist for, so we make sure it gets done. We obviously don't need to share with them all the nitty-gritty details, but share with them some of the major items that are actually keeping the deal moving forward. You know, receive buyer's loan commitment letter, right? And then put the due date as your financing contingency deadline. You know, ensure appraisal passed, right? And then you have your appraisal date that you can use as the due date here. And those are probably some of like the bigger ticket items that you want to keep your seller informed of as they move through the process. Okay. So really think about, like, how can you incorporate these client update emails into your business? How can you use the checklist to make sure that you are completing all the tasks that you need to complete as the agent to keep the deal moving forward? If you're not using a closing coordinator, if you're not using like focused transaction management, I highly recommend you really take some time to build out these checklists for all of your stages. They have a checklist that they work off of, but if you're not using them, you're going to need a checklist to work off of. Okay. If you have 5 different deals going, you need to remember who's in what phase, who's in which stage, where are they at on their checklist items. Okay. So I can go ahead and say like, okay, I've done these 3 items of my checklist. It says 3 of 5 are done. And you can see that here at the opportunity that I've completed 3 of my 5 checklist items. So every day I can come into command, look in here, look at all my opportunities and go, oh, what else do I need to do for this guy? Okay, I need to make sure I'm ordering title. Let me get that done real quick. Then you can check them off and then move them on to the next stage and get a new checklist of items that you have to complete during that stage. Does that make sense? So what questions do you guys have for me regarding the client updates and editing the stages and those checklist items?
No questions right now.
Okay, well, that's pretty much all I had for you today, unless there's anything else that you want to see regarding the sales pipeline. I just really want you guys to think about how it can help you manage your business a little bit smoother in regards to just, you know, those checklists and then updating the clients with information so that you're kind of constantly in front of your clients and you're not receiving the calls going, well, what are we doing about this? Where are we at with this? You know, is anything going on? Anything I need to do, right? Like you're kind of already proactively communicating to them. But that's all I had for today. So
Thank you.
yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a wonderful Christmas, guys. Take care.